best part of being a writer is that you get to make everything turn out just the way you think it should. So if you've ever gone to like a movie that you really, really like the movie, but there's just this one scene that should have been different, or you wish they had done one thing differently, it's great as a writer that you can make sure everything is the way you wanted it to go. So maybe it's a little bit of a power trip that you have the control over the story to make it go where you wanted it to go. My best advice to aspiring authors, I would say, and it was the best advice I got before I got published, was to go ahead and treat your writing seriously. I think a lot of people start, they want to see if they can write, or it's kind of a hobby, and they're more furtive about it in a way, and it's better to go ahead and give yourself the good hours of the day where you're the most productive. It's fine to spend that on writing. Or if you have a great chair in your house or a great window in your house, that would be like the prime spot, you should take that and use that for your writing. So you deserve it to take your writing seriously, because you should always remember that when you finish your story and put it out in the world, you're going to make somebody happy. Someone is going to read that book and be like, that was the best thing. And so it's okay to buy the cool notebook and the great pen and take your time and really treat your writing with the respect it deserves. Definitely the kind of person who has, and I usually know exactly how they're going to meet at the beginning, but then writing for me is a lot like reading. If you're reading someone else's book and you don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter, when I'm writing, I pretty much don't know what's going to happen in the next chapter too. But there's usually like one or two key scenes that I've visualized, and so those, I try to make those happen. But what's going to happen from the beginning to the end, the middle part, is really discovery and interesting for me too. Far and away, the greatest challenge is, I guess there's two. The two greatest challenges, the first is staying on track and treating your writing like a job, because especially you're usually working from home and it's just too easy to be like, well, I'll just go ahead and start a load of laundry and then I'll get to my book. It's too easy to fritter it away. So I think that's why a lot of authors will leave and go to a coffee shop. And for me, I do so much better if I just go on my back porch. You have to kind of get away from the everyday distractions. So everyday distractions is a big problem when you're a writer. And then the other one is that you're all by yourself a lot. And so I think social media has been great, and email is great, and you need to find yourself your little group of people and make sure you say yes to invitations to get out of the house. So one of my all-time favorite authors is Jude Deveraux, and she wrote one of my all-time favorite books, which is A Knight in Shining Armor. And I'm a pretty chatty person, but she's the only person I've been utterly struck dumb silent by. So she walked in a room, I hadn't even written a whole book yet in my life, and she walked in a room and sat next to me, and I absolutely froze. I couldn't speak. And to this day, I've now met her like 3 or 4 times. I have yet to say an intelligent sentence to that woman. Well, what inspires me is I adore romance. I was a voracious romance novel reader, obviously. So what inspires me to write is that I want to write more romance books, because you get that thrill of falling in love for the first time. Every time you write it, it's that same first thrill of first love. So that inspires me. And then as far as characters and locations and things like that, there's a big variety. But I met my husband when I was an officer in the Army. We were set up on a blind date. He's a civilian, but I was stationed at Fort Hood, Texas, which is close to Austin, Texas, and he's a native Texan. And so I met my husband and fell in love in Texas, and so almost all of my books have been set in Texas too. So I guess that's makes Texas romantic to me. So that inspires me. And then anything else is just little things that happen along the way. I mean, it can be something that happens in a grocery store that gives you a great idea. So you just have to be open to it, and you have to write it down, or else you'll think, oh, that's a great idea, I'll never forget. Write it down. Well, I think the whole industry in general, for a great heroine, I think in general most romance novels don't like the helpless damsel in distress. But I do like a strong woman who's in distress, and then an equally strong man can come and help her. That's great, because it's vain to think that anyone's strong enough that they're never going to need help. So just the fact that you need help doesn't mean you're a helpless damsel in distress. that kind of thing. So, and I always say the heroine's beautiful, but she's always, the hero thinks she's beautiful. And I try to give her something beautiful besides, a perfect movie star face kind of a thing. So, she's beautiful. Maybe it's her hair, or it's her smile, or she has nice hands. Like, there's something that catches the hero's eye that makes her beautiful. That's, I hope, relatable. Like, it's not like they're all fairy tale princesses beautiful. And then I like them to have a job and a skill and a life. Like, they haven't just been sitting around waiting for their story to happen. They're doing something when the story opens, and then true love finds them and makes everything better.